Hi everybody, this is Esteban from Krogan, and welcome to a new series on my channel called The Making Of. This is a series where I'll be diving into the albums I've recorded and how I recorded them, uh, interesting stories behind some of the songs, the inspirations for the songs, the lyrics, the music, the riffs, anything you guys want to know. Some people have been asking me about this stuff, so I thought, why not make a video out of it? And today we're starting with the very first album, the debut album, Warpath. Before I continue, I just want to let you guys know that I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and all the fun stuff. Also on Patreon, if you guys want demos, unreleased songs, instrumentals, behind the scenes footage, all that stuff is on my Patreon. Come and join us there, we're having a great time. Also, consider subscribing to the channel, thank you. So anyway, Warpath. The whole story with Warpath was, it was never supposed to be an album. It was never supposed to come out as an album. I had written the song Warpath, which was the first song I wrote off the album. And I just set it aside, for quite a while. Then I wrote Niebla, and it was a completely different song. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make a record, because I had made 2 EPs up to that point. I had the self-titled EP, and I had the Lost in the Desert EP. And I thought I'll just put out another EP. I'll just keep putting out EPs until I'm ready to do a full length. I wasn't gonna do a full length, I was gonna do another EP. And I had these 2 really distinct songs, really different songs. One was Warpath, which was kind of a death metal inspired song, trying to pay homage to that Florida sound, Obituary, Deicide, Death, all that stuff. Really, really into that stuff. And I really was even more so at the time. I'm really still am, but you go through phases when you listen to music. So anyway, I wrote that song, and then I wrote Niebla, which ended up being my second album, which is a lot more black metal, influence, not so much death metal. So I thought, I can't make an EP with these 2 songs. It was just impossible. But then I thought, okay, I'll just keep adding to each one and see if I can come out with 2 EPs, And then I realized I kind of enjoyed the process of writing, recording, creating everything from scratch, and playing all the instruments. I just kind of decided to keep going. Keep making more music, keep making more songs, until eventually I ended up making a whole album. Now, when I say play all the instruments, I mean I played guitar, bass, did the vocals, did some keyboards too, and did the drum programming. I didn't actually play drums. I used Easy Drummer. I used, as far as I remember, the death metal plugin, which was the first plugin I got outside of the bass software. And used the death metal plugin for pretty much everything, and the death metal pack performed by Dave McGraw, who's a great drummer, and that was awesome to have. Also had the metal plugin with Dirk Verburen. That was also really cool to have. That was featured in Mangled Arm. You can tell the drumming in Mangled Arm is pretty different than the drumming in the rest of the music, and that's because it's a different drummer. And eventually what happened was I ended up sitting there every day and coming up with riffs. And basically what I did was I thought about coming up with riffs and then, have drum parts that accompany it, but also search up drum parts and write riffs for those drum parts. So in some songs, you'll hear, you can't really hear the difference, I guess, because it's all written down, right? But there are some songs, some riffs that started with the drums, some riffs in the album. As far as I remember, I think The Sign had some riffs that started with drums. Into the Abyss had some riffs that started with drums. And a few more. We're gonna go into each track separately in a minute, but I just want to kind of let you guys know up front what the deal was on that. So basically the process was that. Coming up with riffs for drum parts and drum parts for riffs. Waking up, recording, recording, doing take after take after take until I was happy with it, and then going to bed, waking up, working on something else, you know. That basically was my life for about a month, because the writing and recording of the album pretty much was all done in a month. It was done from July to August 2024. And I don't really have a home studio, just have a bedroom setup that I'll show you guys in another video. But I basically just grinded out that album, and it basically just wrote itself. I wasn't really expecting to come up with a full length, as I said, but then when I had 8 songs together, I thought, hey, I should just put this out, you know. As far as the software I used GarageBand, and I had an Audio-Technica microphone for the AT2020 for the vocals, and I used Amp Roots for the guitars, and also Easy Mix, I believe, yeah, with a ton of reverb, EQ, compression, all that. As far as the gear, the instruments that I used, they're usually the same in every album. I use Ibanez guitars, and all the way from electric, acoustic, and bass. And I'm gonna make a separate video on all the gear that I use, because the gear doesn't really change much from album to album. So I'll just make a separate video of my gear and show you guys everything I have, and emphasize maybe this was played on this album more and less stuff. Okay, now it is time to dive into each track. Here we go. Number 1, Is This It? So I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I always wanted to start a metal song with that famous line from The Two Towers, which is spoken by King Theoden at the beginning of the Battle of Helm's Deep. And it just shows off so much bravado, so much confidence. And I thought, this is the kind of energy I want to bring, with the album. And also, if you've seen the movie, no spoilers, but it doesn't always, he doesn't always keep that bravado and that confidence, but it's a great thing to have, and it's a great thing to show in that moment. The song has basically a slam riff that I don't know exactly where it came from. It just came to me one morning. And it was actually really, really difficult to record, because it had this, slam patterns which go like dun 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 dun. People that do slam know what I'm talking about. And recording the dual guitars on each side was a real challenge, because it had to line up. I'm not really huge on moving things around and transients and stuff. I'm more about if I need to, and rather than editing stuff, I'm just more about tracking it again so it's held solid. And it was basically trying to start off the record with a bang, trying to start it off really fast, trying to start it off really aggressive to kind of state my intention, basically. Number 2, Marked by Blood. I'm a huge Deicide fan. I'm a huge Once Upon the Cross fan. I think that album's great from start to finish. And there's a lot of really cool tremolo riffs on that album. And I kind of wanted to incorporate something like that. And the main riff here is kind of based off of those early Deicide albums. The lyrical content is about being part of a brotherhood, being, like the song says, marked by blood, but also not just like your actual brother, but when you go through something traumatic or you go through something serious like war, or a metaphor for anything else with someone else, that person becomes your brother, your sister, because they've been through the mud with you. I believe that. Now, Warpath, the title track, the actual gallop riff you hear in the verse. That took many, many tries. That took about, I remember clearly, I have it, not the picture somewhere, I don't think I can probably find it, but just trust me on this. It had 13 takes on one side and 34 takes on the other. And that's the only way I got those gallop riffs to kind of work together. And it ended up working out, but it was it was a painful day. That recording was really, really, really sensationally painful. But it ended up working out, and I think the song, that kind of riff ended up sounding pretty tight. So that was nice. Number 4, The Sign. The Sign comes, I guess lyrically from maybe people that have religious experiences or people that have spiritual experiences where they're introduced to warrior spirits who kind of give them power. And I'm kind of using that as a metaphor to have, again, self-confidence, to have a direction in your life, to know what you're supposed to do and kind of get out of the situation you're in. I'm trying to kind of, I guess, spread a positive message, even though it's a bunch of yelling and screaming. And that also has a special spoken word section where I'm, kind of playing the God or the father figure there and telling the person that they must rise up and all that. Really black metal inspired riffing too. I guess it's the only kind of black metal song in the album. It has a little black metal riffing in there. But yeah, that's The Sign. Number 5 is Into the Abyss. Now, the interesting story about Into the Abyss is I've always been a Doom fan. Krogan started out as a Doom kind of stoner band. The first 2 EPs are pretty much Doom stoner. And I kind of wanted to include a slow song in kind of a fast album. So I said, why not do this? And I used a special social media technique to write it. You've probably seen it. It's called Will It Riff. And basically you just grab an object, you read the barcode, and you transpose that barcode onto your tab, and you kind of do that in the 6th string. And it kind of sounds heavy or kind of doesn't, and you kind of have to figure out the rhythm. But that song was a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. That's how it came out. I had a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Anyway, I had a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and I was just like, I need to write another song for this album. What's it gonna be? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna, hey, what will it riff? Here's the barcode. And 037952. It was kind of a weird pattern that I never really played before. So I said, okay, let's just play it. And that's how you got the main riff of that song. Then the whole song started kind of building from there. Going into the abyss, kind of venturing into danger, venturing into an unknown world, or putting yourself in danger, but to survive the outcome and just come out of it stronger, I think. And it's also kind of a melancholy song, definitely melancholy. A lot of melancholy there. And number 6 is Mangled Arm. Like I said, this song was kind of rushed in the sense that I kind of needed I think this was the last song I recorded for the album, and I just kind of needed something. So I wrote and recorded in 2 days. And it's basically about betrayal, kind of following with the war theme and everything. Basically about betrayal, basically about, who snitched? I don't know how to explain it, but basically somebody finds out that, inside the campaign, inside the war campaign, somebody has been giving information to the enemy, and the person talking is some sort of general, and says basically, I gave my arm away, or I'm slicing it off, or it's being sliced off to protect the others, and nobody's supposed to know that we're here. Who told people that we were here? Basically, that's kind of the whole idea. That has a solo that's also inspired by Deicide. It's inspired by the Hoffman Brothers era of Deicide. Number 7, Echoes of Battle. I've always thought about, I don't want all my songs in an album to be just, pure aggression, pure blast beating, yelling, screaming, and, graphic imagery and all that. It's great, it's fun, it's a blast, but I don't think it's worth 10 songs worth of a blast, So I thought I always want to include a chill song, a calm song. And I had that main melody in my head for a while, and I just built on that melody, that guitar melody. And the song does have some sort of crescendo in the end, so it does build to something. So it's not just completely flat, And it kind of gives you a respite for the next song, which is the final song of the album, which is heavier. Number 8, Life Crusher. Life Crusher is probably, personally, I think it's my favorite song of the first album. And a lot of political stuff. It has a lot of politically charged themes, not just about leaders in Peru or whatever, just leaders in the world. I think it talks about how many leaders behave around the world and the frustration that comes with that. And the ending, the outro, kind of has a more Latin feel. Kind of want to end the record on that. I wanted to have more use of the toms, and it's a great closer because it kind of lends to some jamming too. Last but not least, I want to talk about the cover. The cover was done on Fiverr by an artist, and he was great. He really understood the vision that I had, and I kind of wanted to have, a lot of color, basically paying homage to those old death metal covers with a lot of color, and a lot of detail, and having a central character and things happening around him was kind of important to me, and I thought it could really capture the vibe of the album really well. So anyway, that was the story of Warpath, my debut album. I'll be making videos on each of these albums that I put out when I have the time and the patience to edit these. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I went on rambling a lot, but I hope it was interesting to you. If you enjoy the music and want to support me, you have my Bandcamp. I am also on Patreon. We have the shirts. We also have physical media, Warpath on CD, and if you're a tape guy like me, we have it on tape too. So all this is on sale on my Bandcamp and on my Shopify store, link in the description. Thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next time.